Okay, hi guys. This is the last or next to last in the series of reasonably short videos concerning your research projects, memoirs, rapport de stage, memoir, etc. So we've gone all the way through from the first thing you write pretty much in terms of your subject from the title, all the way through to taking your pen off at the end of your conclusions and recommendations. But there are a whole range of other things to talk about. First of all, appendices. What are they for? Well, if there's anybody here that's had their appendix out, the physical appendix, which is in your belly, which sometimes gets inflamed, and if it bursts can cause septicemia and death. I'm sure all of you will say, well, okay, it was painful at the time, but they took it out and, everything's better. I've lost no function at all. An appendix is something extra, something added on, something you can do without. So you have to bear that in mind when you're thinking about the appendix. You call them annex, the appendix to this. I prefer appendix to annex. Annex sounds like it's just a further part of the house that you can go into and put furniture in. It isn't. An appendix is something that, as a reader, I do not have to read. Okay, I'll say that again. I don't have to look at a single thing in your appendix. It is not a dumping ground for content. If something is so important, it needs to be in your report. It should be in the main body of your report. You can't say, now turn to Appendix 3 and read Table 15, please, and then come back. No, you can't do that to me, toggling between the appendix and the page. If that piece of information is so vital to understand your text that I have to go and see it, I shouldn't have to go and see it. It should be presented to me in the text, okay? The appendix is not a dumping ground. So what is it for? Well, maybe there are non-standard original print things that you can't actually get into your report, and that's the only place you can put them. Maybe there are things that you don't think the average person will want because either they are too basic. Everybody knows that. It's basic marketing. Forget it. Oh, we put a bit of that in the appendix just in case there's a low-level reader. Or there's some, I've given you all the detail you need, but there's some really great further detail here if ever you want to go on. But you don't have to read that because everything you need is there in the main body of the report. So please, not an annex as if you can put anything in it you want, an overflow. It isn't that. It's an appendix. It's something I don't have to read. It's for extra additional material that I can live without, and your report stands on its own without the appendix. Okay? Okay, secondly, referencing systems. Please, please, please use a recognized referencing system. If you've gone through my intro to research unit, you should be doing that as part of the assignment that I am giving you. Now, I don't care myself what referencing system you use. The English one called Harvard, as in Harvard University, Harvard, the Harvard referencing scheme I find incredibly easy. Why? Because all the others seem to want to use footnotes. I hate footnotes. I think they're a total waste of time. You put in a footnote pretty much all the things that you put in a bibliography. All I need, which is what the Harvard referencing system wants you to give, is when you are doing a quotation, you put the name of the author and the date, Jolly 2016. I know whether this is a good author or not, and I know whether it's recent or not. I mean, frankly, if you're doing a report on social networks and you're giving me a source in 2005, I think you're mad because Twitter didn't even exist. Facebook probably didn't even exist either. So I'd be looking for something more recent. So what I really need is to know the author and the date. I then might be so interested, I need to go and check this source. I need to go and look at it because I'm interested. Maybe I can incorporate it in my lectures. So I need then to be able to see exactly which reference in the bibliography, which author, name, title, etc., which of those relates to this particular source that you've used on page 3. There's no point in me having a long list in the bibliography if I can't match up the source in the bibliography with the quotation that you've given. So for me, I prefer the Harvard referencing system where you just do your quotation or paraphrase and the author's name and date. And then you put the full bibliographical reference in the bibliography or references list. When it comes to the French system, there is the Modern Languages Association, the MLA scheme. That tends to favour footnotes. So you put a quotation at the top of the page and you put 1 there and you force me to go to the bottom of the page to look at it, to come back up again. I don't need to know who the publisher is at that point. I'm not going to interrupt myself to go and look the thing up. All I need to know is who wrote it and what was the date. So why do I need the full bibliographical reference at the bottom of the page? And why don't I then need it again in a bibliography? I think it's too complicated and takes too much time. So I favour Harvard, but frankly, you must follow whatever you are told in your livret de stage, your livret for doing the memoir or rapport de stage, or whichever one, frankly, you're most comfortable with. But you have to use it. You have to use it fully and consistently so that your reader knows the authority of the material that you're using. And please remember, paraphrasing, you still need to give an attribution. You still need to tell us where you got it from. I would strongly recommend that most of the time you are quoting, you put quotation marks and you put your quotations in italics, because then if you're not writing in italics when it's your word and all of a sudden you're using italics, we know it's a quotation. You want us, I'm sure, to give you credit for using good sources and for saying, oh, look, there's a source by Kotler on marketing. That's good. Fine. So don't lose the authority of these materials in a paraphrase and then forget to put in there the source and attribute it. At that point, you can start being accused of plagiarizing. With more about that later, but you just don't want to go there. So please use a referencing system fully, whichever one you use, and check your livret to make sure that they haven't actually said you must use this one and not that one. Okay, next on my list, glossary of terms. Do you need one? Well, it helps. Some people prefer the glossary at the end. I don't. I prefer it at the beginning. Logically, I'm about to face something where there's going to be a lot of abbreviations or a lot of terms that I don't know, which are highly technical terms that you've spent ages learning on your placement. It would help me to see those beforehand and to know what they are. If they're abbreviations, British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, you put that in a glossary, and then the first time in the text that you mention the British Broadcasting Corporation, you do the British Broadcasting Corporation, in case I haven't read the bibliography, the glossary of terms, and then you put in brackets after it BBC. So after you've said British Broadcasting Corporation and BBC in brackets the first time, you only need to say BBC after. You've explained it, you've put it in a glossary, you've told the reader earlier on. The reader isn't stupid. You've done your job. If the reader's forgotten, they can always check it in the glossary. Okay? That's how you use glossaries. Acknowledgements. Do you have to put in fulsome acknowledgements of everyone who's ever helped you or known you? No, you don't. You don't even have to put in praise or acknowledgement of the sport of your tutors on your academic program, or of your tutor for the rapport de stage or memoir. You don't have to. You can not do acknowledgements if you want to, or you can be very fulsome in your praise of people if you think they deserve it. You do not have to praise everybody, but normally it's expected that you thank the company that saw fit to offer you the position, the placement, the internship, and the person perhaps who was your boss or other people who helped you in the research that you were doing for your project. Okay, from our point of view, if you want to say something which is open and honest about us, that's fine. If you don't, I'm not going to hold it against you. We're not going to say, "Yeah, didn't give me a good credit in the acknowledgements, etc." We're not worried about that. We do our job. We mark it. Nobody takes offence at that. So it's up to you. Proofreading. You need to read and read and read this thing. I suggest that you read it out loud, à haute voix. Don't just read it on your screen. When you read it on your screen, you normally miss 30 or 40% of the errors, especially punctuation errors. They're very easy to miss. However, when you're reading out loud, speaking as I am now, when you try to follow your punctuation, if your punctuation's wrong, your voice will get confused. You realize, hang on a minute, that should have stopped. Where the hell did I put a comma? That's a full stop, change, capital letter. You'll catch most of the punctuation errors because they are instructions for you in terms of how to read things, but you only see them if you read à haute voix. Okay, so please talk to Tony. Imagine you're reading it to me, and most of your errors will bounce off the walls in front of you. Secondly, use Grammarly. I've cited this so many times. Grammarly. Go online, look at Grammarly, download the tiny piece of free software, and it will underline in blue in English or French if you set the language to French, or possibly German, but definitely in English and French. It will underline words that it thinks are wrong. It will give you what it believes is right, the right expression or the right spelling, and it will explain why you're wrong and it's right. And most of the time, it damn well is. I find it catches stuff that I write, especially obviously in French. So please, please, please use Grammarly. I mean, if I'm opening your document, it's in Word, and I've got lots of things underlined in blue because I use Grammarly. I'm thinking, well, why the hell didn't the student use Grammarly? Come on. I'm not your proofreader. Do your own job. So please, 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 please use the tools which are around to help you. Now, those are tools that we accept. DeepL, Babelfish, Google Translate, Niet, no. Because that technically is plagiarism. If you throw something into that and it translates it, they are not your words. Therefore, it's plagiarism. And usually we can see even mistakes that have come out of DeepL and expressions that they don't get quite right. We can see them pretty well. So please, please, please don't risk plagiarizing by using tools you're not supposed to. Other proofreading. Your friends and family. Now, they might not know anything about the work that you've been doing, but they know how to read. They know how to understand. They know when someone is being clear and when someone isn't. They know when this expression isn't the right one. So please give this to your mum or dad or your boyfriend or girlfriend and ask them seriously, will you please read through it and underline anything that you don't think works and tell me why? Okay, that can help and catch quite a lot of these errors too. Obviously, if you happen to be or know an English speaker and they can have a look through it, if you're doing it in English, that might also help. But there we go. Use of tutor. I think I'll cover in another video. So I'll just deal with the issue of plagiarism. You have to put your work through a plagiarism checker at the university. You drop a copy of it, an electronic copy of it, And if it picks up plagiarism, you get penalised. If it picks up 10% of plagiarism, I think they might have even lowered it to 5% of plagiarism now, etc. You can possibly get severely reprimanded, maybe fail it with a mark of 0. In one case, we've had somebody in M2 thrown off the course and failed a master's. On Grammarly that I mentioned, Grammarly has its own plagiarism checker in it. So provided your report isn't confidential, you could actually run through it or run it through your work to make absolutely sure that you haven't accidentally forgotten to give a source, which is entirely possible. That's one of the reasons why I suggested putting your quotes in italics. Even if you've forgotten eventually to add the source, when you read it and you realize, that's in italics, wow, I haven't put the name and the date in, then you can do that very easily afterwards, okay? Right, finally, I will actually go to talk about how to use your tutor. It's going to be a long video, but I think I'll do it anyway. There are 2 or 3 points at which you should use your tutor. The first is concerning your choice of title. As I said on an earlier video, we need to know what this title is, not just something about, I want to do something on this area of study, something on search engine optimization, would that be okay? We need a well thought through title. We need you to have given us some aims and objectives, and we need you to have given us an idea of how you're going to go about this work. If you can't give us that, then we, frankly, can't give you the green light with confidence. We can say, well, there might be something there, but until you give me more, I don't know. So before you commit to something, talk to your tutor. On my website, under the Stagiaires tab, I have got, if you look for it in one of the 2 or 3 files that are there, there is at the bottom of a rolling page a project proposition form or proposal form. Fill that in. It's only about 1 page long, and that gives me or any of my colleagues enough detail to be able to give you good advice. Likewise, I think it would be sensible, once you're actually starting, and you can do this very early on, once you've got the title and right in your head and the aims and objectives, write the introduction. You'll feel that you're starting. Finally, the phony war is over. You're actually running. You're off and running. You're starting. But it would be a really good idea if you wrote it and sent it to your tutor and said, I've been working on the title, aims and objectives, and getting this set up. Can I just have you look at it and give me my impressions? Because it's only 2 or 3 pages, but as I said to you in an earlier video, this is make or break. If this isn't straight, if it isn't right, if it isn't clear, if it isn't correct, if it's confused, you're in difficulty, and so is your marker. So that's a vital point at which to use your tutor. Another point might be at the point at which you're going out to do a survey and you're thinking about your methodology and the design of your questionnaires. Good idea to talk to them at that point too. Okay, I think that's about it. It's about all the energy I've got for the moment. So thank you very much. And that's the end of it. Bye-bye.